So Jarrett may not have been at the very beginning of this journey, and that's okay, because he was a prepared man and came out here with the lens filter, which makes a big difference on these shots, makes my skin look even more glowing. And here we are, we have it here in our possession. Oh my God, it feels so, you don't understand how good this feels. This is a fully fixed Corvette, as you saw in the previous video. They explained all the details to that, but we're gonna get it unloaded, and by the end of this video, we are going to have a 13B in here connected to the drivetrain for the final fitment, to then ultimately get this subframe figured out how to mount the engine to it.
Could have got it done faster, but Rob's been holding us all back for like the last 3 weeks.
No, I am normally the holdup in my entire life, but this time it was not me. But this time has given us a chance to prepare, so we've got everything ordered, things coming in, people. I'll be honest, some of the worst aftermarket people are the RX-7 community. When you go to buy something, I literally have been trying to pay for things ahead of time to get them, and people are like, oh, I sold it to somebody else. Oh my God, we got tons of stuff coming in, but I still have the rat race. We have, I will tell you exactly how many days until LS Fest. It's at least 40 days, but that's a short time to get the engine working in here when nobody's ever done that. We have no transmission. We have e-brake. Here's what I might have you do. I might have you get in the car. You just modulate the e-brake. I'm gonna give you a little push. My fear is that if we go too fast, the boards are gonna slide out in front of it. Hey, you're good. Things are going good. Life's going good. Love's going good. Marriage is going good. Taxes are going good.
Yeah. Why? You're laughing.
I was smiling because you were on this much of the wood on that side. It's like if he falls off, whatever. While the car looks like it's frozen in time in launch mode, we have a little bit of an issue that I'm realizing. The 13B is much lighter than the LS, and in that case, we actually have to deal with the fact that that affects the front suspension completely. So we got that Carolina lean, you know, you got that front lift kit done, but you can't afford the rear kit, so you got that truck up like that. That's our problem that we're gonna be facing shortly. It's naturally going to be a lean up like this. 180-pound difference. You can already see it, but that's a great problem to have because there's tons of aftermarket solutions. We won't deal with that, any of that. None of that will be discussed until after we have a nice little two-rotor purring in this car. You may notice in the video I just shaved. That is camera effects at its finest, or where you have to do this over multiple days. Reason why is that this takes a lot of preparation. I'm saving you a lot of time. I went and took the whole rear subframe and dropped it. So it's down about 5-6 inches, and that allows us the room to put the bazooka back under the car. Kind of the shittiest part about this car is that they're all splined ends. You have to maneuver and figure everything out. It doesn't just slide into it at a stock spot. So to put the bazooka into the car, we need to get the adapter plate onto the bazooka, get all that in there, and then it locks into the transmission. We're gonna work on the adapter plate right now. So this is the beginning of the fun parts. Nodder from Built to Apex ordered us in all of these bolts for both sides of the adapter plate. These with the hex, which I hate hex heads, but these are much more flush for obviously what we're trying to do with an adapter plate. And then these, which surprisingly enough, are almost identical to the ones on my T56 setup. The nice part about what he ordered me is that these all have the matching hardware in the other box. This is all just amazing. We have the two biggest hang-ups on this car done. The adapter plate and the chassis are both done, so it feels so good. But this part is where we want to put 5 bolts in this way. These are actually nut and bolted. These aren't just bolts. So these will go in like so. 2, 3, 4. Ooh, it is fitting nicely. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, no, 4. So there's 7 on this side because this one right here, there wasn't enough meat, as you saw in the adapter plate video. If you didn't, we explained why we made it this way. But that gives us the 5th on this side, 7 on the other side. That's pretty solid. So let's go ahead and get the nuts. I'm gonna get my nut. I'll be right back. Notter supplied me with these nuts that have more or less a locking aspect to them. All those teeth bite into the softer material. This is aluminum. Nice. We have to do a little bit more clearancing. Those bolts could use just a little bit more. The heads are a little bit thicker, and we only get about 3 rounds of threads, which we want to get to that point. The head's not completely flush. You'd hit it like that. That's probably the best analogy. So we're gonna take that down just a little bit more, which will sink the bolt in further and give us more meat down here. I think I'm gonna attach the bell housing while we're here. These are just only bolts. I'm gonna go into this. Let's go ahead and test fit it here while we're at it. You guys don't know how hard this is not to do this off camera. It's like, wait, Rob, don't do it. The camera needs to watch what you're doing. It's so hard for me.
Absolutely prevent you from
He
going out here
prevents me
doing
from
this.
opening packages that we've gotten without filming it. So on. It's really the first full test. You can see though, see that little bit? See that right there? You can definitely hear it. That's the bell housing sitting on the bolt heads instead of the actual adapter. One more scarier aspect of this, and by scary I mean Notter trusted me to do something myself, is that he ordered in a tap, like a tap and die set, ordered in one of these babies, which will actually come in really handy in the future as well, because his CNC machine actually goes through, not like this, but actually with the tip of a blade and cuts the threads. You saw that in the previous video. This thing, on the other hand, goes through like this, and I'm shaking it very gently, and cuts them more like a drill. It's threading itself in right now. His tool only has so much depth. Well, at this point, this is where we actually have to finish the job with this bit going straight down. I don't have a drill press yet. 2 factors that really make this worse than it should be. Because then we have to go over to Lowe's and get something to drill this hole out a little bit further down so our bolts work better and the head is more flush. The head is not flush, if you guys are wondering. The head's not flush because we had an issue with the surface and we wanted to surface it properly. So we had to surface it twice. That took a little bit more material off the top. This is documenting mistake number 753 on my list. Don't want any of those little shards causing problems in your next hole. That's exactly what I would do. That was uneventful for you and for me, and that's the good thing. Nothing bad happened. So this is the side that Notter already had, and those are still looking perfectly fine. I didn't round any of the edges over. And this is the side I did. You can see a little bit of not perfection. For the most part, they're very clean, but they're not nearly as clean as his. These aren't gonna miss thread. It's like, they're just continuation of what was started. So again, I'm not worried at all. It's just, this is more of a cosmetic layer than anything. Threading is perfect. We cleaned out any sort of threading. There's still oil in there, so it's nice and happy. None of them had issues. So I think we are safe. We're gonna have to go to Lowe's and drop these down a little bit. The infamous 5. We bought this tool, which is actually meant for wood, but it does have, at this angle, a flat, level surface. It's made out of steel, so it should handle just that little bit that we need to take off of the aluminum. We're just gonna trim these horned edges down so they don't gall it up. So we get this nice flat surface, take it down, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch. We should be good. This is the real moment of truth. I was just thinking this is the moment of truth.
I definitely just said that before I hit record. I'm gonna sue your ass. You're getting sued.
I'm gonna sue your ass. It's really working well. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how that worked. I don't know what effect it had, but it certainly took them down pretty flat. That's definitely flush. That worked. That worked better than I was expecting. We gained some more threading, which we'll gain even more as we tighten it down. Just subtle. All I need to know. You like that. You like my song.
I don't know.
You did. Don't lie, Jarrett. Don't do an oof. Don't do an oof. Do a standing ovation.
Can I get an oof in the comments?
No oof was said that day.
I better at least see one comment that says a oof.
There's gonna be I unsubscribed. That's not going anywhere. These are all the bolts for the 100 of bolts that protect the whole drivetrain. Kind of a weird setup. I don't understand why it looks like an oil pan, but these rounded head bolts are the ones that connect the transmission, well, to the, I guess they don't call it transmission, you call it transaxle or whatever, to the rear diff. And more of those, they're all basically the same bolt, basically to connect the torque tube to the transmission. So we're gonna be using a lot of these right now. The only thing I'm worried about reversing is the fact that, remember the shifting, how much that gave us problems? The shift knob, when you're shifting, you're literally shifting against these two right here. And they were a pain in the ass because they were Torx. We figured that out, but we're gonna have to figure out how to get that reinstalled. So here's the shift linkage. First, second, reverse, all that. That has to connect to the shift knob assembly that goes right here. So we have to get all that, and then this plastic assembly slides in here. That's all on top of just simply sliding that in, connecting these two together. Do you remember if we were able to get the shifter? It's gonna go like this. We have to do this part anyway. Shift this like this. This, for some ungodly reason, goes through this hole right here, like that, making everything awkward.
I think what happened was you took it off and it was hanging by the shifter, and then you took the shifter off.
That sounded familiar. This part has to be done this way. There's no way around this. So might as well just get that done. This is where it starts to get kind of fun because the transmission's gonna come up now that we're like this close to it. If we jack up the transmission, the rear of the car, the transmission's the first thing that pops up, surprisingly. Kind of like wedges itself back up. And then that allows the alignment for the splines on the transmission to go into the input shaft. So we should be good. If you want to go ahead and do me the favor of jacking up the jack back here a little bit more. And stop there just so I can assess the situation. And I'm gonna just kind of wiggle all of this without being directly underneath it in case anything bad happens. There we go. Using that left ankle to pick it up. And we are in. Rounded bolts in, just so it doesn't surprise us and fall off. All the bolts are like making it like to 90% of the way in. Smooth, no problem. Something's up. No, life's like, yo, watch what I'm about to do to these guys.
Only spreading these positive vibes.
You know what this is?
It's a shifter, man.
You know what that is? That motion is?
Are you trying to tell me something?
Do you know what that is, yes or no?
Rob.
Is that is?
Shifting?
Oh, your mom knows what that is.
Joe!
Deleted scene. I meant Jarrett's mom, like in general, like not specifically Jarrett's mom, but a mom of my friend in general. God damn it, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna put this inside of this, like that. The notch is for the rest of this bolt. Okay, good. I'm glad I double checked that. The notch on the shifter is the bolt going through the side and holding it in. Okay, there we go. So that is all good. Well, everything's going together much simpler than I recall them coming apart. Okay, so we're gonna tighten these up properly. We're gonna need to get a new rear end for this car. Not just for launching, but actually because a rotary engine loves much higher RPMs, and the rear end is actually gonna have to go way higher ratio. So this is like a 3.6, which is kind of funny. The 3.6, it's like 3.6, I think, is like the mega high level drag racing rear end ratio on this car. Like they're like 2 9s, they're like way low. Well, we're gonna need to go closer to 5, 5 to 1 spins in the rear differential. T56 Magnum on the 3-rotor, the rear differential is a 5.12, and you wouldn't know it's that. So, for every 1 spin or whatever, I should say every 5 spins in equals 1 spin on the wheels. All right, so we've got the rear diff, or the transaxle, the transmission, and the torque tube all bolted up properly. That's all gonna come back up, and that will show us exactly where the bell housing is gonna sit in the engine bay. I'm excited to see this. We'll play it at its own game.
It's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
All these weird ass leg workouts.
So before we go to the front, I just realized that the whole rear subframe is cocked like this. And because of that, the actual position of where the engine is going to be, if we're lining it up to the torque tube, is adjusted. It's not in the correct spot. So let's put the 4 main bolts in for the rear subframe. That'll straighten things out. The torque tube will go to its full maximum length, not half chub, and we will get the correct engine position. We'll just slap these in really quickly just to rough this in. I'm purposely only putting these rear 2 ones in, just a couple threads, because the front 2 are not close. So we'll get to right there, and then you'll see the front 2 are completely cocked down like this. So I don't want to tighten these, and then the fronts aren't threaded in right. So now, the front ones, I wonder, we're gonna see together. Nope, it's just gonna pick up the whole car. You like that, don't you? You're mesmerized.
You're fucking. I'm right here. I could jack it.
Dude, I don't need help. I can do it myself. You should have seen the look. He's like, oh, fuck. Help you jack it.
Put those fucking bolts in.
Oh my god. That is the correct position of the adapter plate now that the whole rear is in correct position. We could put the bell housing on right now, but the jack and what's holding this whole thing up is in the way. So I want to like take the big jack and get it like kind of right behind here. So it's not in the way of the bell housing, but it's holding the whole thing up and it's taller. This one out. Oh, you know what we need to do first? What's this connecting to?
That's a big one.
I've been saving up for this moment.
It's a big one.
Jarrett, Keither, will you take my starter? I don't have anything else to cheese you to say after that. I got nothing. Just solenoid things. Oh. Looking pissy. Oh. What?
Yes.
What? The engine's gonna go up a little bit, but look at the clearance between the frame rail and the back of the starter. So this rib right here, the part that's in the way right here, underneath these brake lines, it's structural, but it's only to right here. It's not like a core structure. So I'm thinking like double plate this, like reverse plate it, even just cut into it, plate it reverse, take the piece, weld it backwards, and there's our extra inch or 2 of rigidity and starter. Because the starter is going to go, I'm thinking out loud, that's full, like that's not that, it's not going to go to that height, but it's going to go to somewhere in here. So the starter does just touch that ever so gently. People don't want to see a bell housing in a Corvette. They want to see a rotary engine in its proper position in a Corvette. I don't hear those storms. They could be here. I have to drop this over. Of course, it's going to crush. One of you guys are thinking before you even comment, oh, you already did this. Yeah, I did, but I wasn't hooking it up for like final fitment. We were sizing it up for like feasibility and the fact that it looked possible. This is actually hooking the engine to its bell housing to the drivetrain. This is the real deal. We're taking the whole front subframe down, similar to how we did the rear subframe, solely to fit the engine in. It's all about like equilibrium with this whole damn torque tube. This is peace, love, unity, and respect. This is Rotary. None of those things. Right now, Rotary is trying to do this. And even if you do this, you're starting to gall up the pilot bearing and all that. So the goal is to get these like this. This guy is the front subframe, and so this is like this. It's only because I started taking it off and forgot a bolt. There, see? It galled up the threading a little bit, but because it was uneven on my end, I wedged it against the threads. Yeah. We do have to watch out for the poor pilot bearing. It's kind of going to take a beating on this. The bottom needs to come down, but I'm going to align these two, and we got down a little bit more. Oh, there we go. That is the final position of the 13B inside of a C5 Corvette. There's the first moment you've seen the correct position. This has never been done before. That's kind of scary. This has never been done before. I have nobody to copy off of. Can't buy my way out of this for all those guys that think I'm super wealthy. Well, here's what I'm thinking. Off the cuff, right now, this is our thing. We could trim it and ruin a lot of structural integrity right there. Reinforce it here because it's empty here. It's actually just a shell. Add more here, closer to this leaf spring. The engine is in the correct spot. The subframe is currently, more so importantly back here, it's that far off. It needs to go up that high. So it's what, 1.5 inches, I guess? That is definitely, those two are gonna collide. Not a problem, exactly what we were expecting. That's what fabrication's all about. So we've got fabricators. We're waiting on the current turbo. Let's go ahead and put the final turbo in and just see how it fits.
Oh yeah.
No way. Dude, bolted up, it's not touching. And look at it, you could actually put a turbo blanket on there. That's almost exactly where, that's the big one. So that's the 4508 fitting in there, but the 3584 RS, that's gonna fit in there even nicer. It's gonna have a smaller exhaust housing. Obviously it's overall smaller power plant frame. Make some nasty things happen with such a, the smaller it is, the better. That's really where I'm going with this. The point isn't to throw the 3-rotor in here yet. It's to throw a 2-rotor, piss everybody off, and make a ton of horsepower noise. Well, there you have it. That is the end of this step. I have showed you the impossible. It could still be impossible. I'm doing it. It could be impossible. It could be just talk. I'm good at that. But in this case, we have a 13B turbocharged in its final position as it pertains to the rear wheels. This is connected. Right now, I could spin this motor and there's no clutch. But if there was a clutch, it would spin and so on. So this is the spot this engine's gonna be at. Now we have to build the front up to hold it here and then add everything else to it. There you guys go.